Hello and welcome to our webinar, Solve Your Biggest Exchange Issues. My name is Martin Etzroth and I am your direct contact at Guava for every question which might appear during or after our webinar. Today we will have a look at all the issues which are occurring when you're managing an Exchange server and how to solve these issues and problems with your email management tool Retain. Let's first have a look at our agenda for the next 25 to 30 minutes. With my first slide, I will show you the updates within Microsoft's new Exchange version 2013. It's not a very technical overview, just for having an overview about the biggest new features. Then we'll have a look at the issues which come up if you're managing an Exchange server, if you're doing email management, and what problems do many customers face with, for example, PSD files, with, for example, migrations. Afterwards, we are going to have a look at how our software Retain can really help you with these problems. How this great tool for email management can solve or prevent those issues and support in relieving the Exchange environment again. At general, all attendees are in listen-only mode, so please use the chat window for all your questions. And I will come back to it at the end of this webinar. If you want, the presentation is sent to you afterwards. Just write a short comment as well in the chat window, and we will send you the presentation. Yeah, especially in email management, it is totally usual that you face some smaller or bigger problems while your system is growing every day. So just think of the actual Microsoft Exchange 2013, or think of PSD files, for example, which are occurring in almost everyone's infrastructure. Fortunately, there are tools like Retain for exact those problems, which is helping to solve those problems. But let's first have a look at the updates within Microsoft Exchange 2013 to talk about all the issues which are occurring if you're using it. First big change regards the cloud. Microsoft is currently pushing everything and everyone to their cloud, how you might have heard. If your Exchange is hosted, you don't have to take care of its scalability. That's a big point. There's a big but good update for every administrator. You now have to admin the Exchange in a new web interface. Everything you managed in the FAT client before on the server is now web-based. This gives you the possibility, for example, to administrate your Exchange from almost every device in your infrastructure. The point protection and security, Microsoft Forefront is now end of life, but there's a Microsoft alternative called EOP, Exchange Online Protection. With EOP, you still have the possibility to have your Exchange protected and secured, whether it's in the cloud or on your premises. There are archiving and compliance tools within Exchange, but we will have a deeper look at archiving later this webinar. So let's talk about the problems which may occur when you're using email management with Microsoft Exchange. I think you all know these problems. Overloaded servers. There are a lot of features in Exchange 2013 which were again improved, but there are still occurring issues. For example, the overloading of your Exchange database related to all of the traffic it has to handle all day. But why are those problems still occurring, and what challenges do you face as a person responsible for IT? You might face these problems. There's so much traffic due to all the mails which get to your Exchange database every day. Just imagine how much mails you get a day and make a projection to all of your users. The bigger your Exchange database gets, the bigger your performance is lagging. And due to this, big database, it will take more time to back up your Exchange, and in the worst case, it still backups when all users are back to work. And then you will have a problem as a person responsible for IT. A search within the Outlook client is just impossible. Just imagine you're searching an email in a mailbox which has like 3 GB. You type in a keyword in the search field and then you have to filter yourself. You scroll through thousands of results, and if you're really lucky, you will find the mail again. This just leads oftentimes to mailbox quotas, which are affecting the user's workflow. As an administrator, who didn't really have the discussion with an annoyed user who is asking, like, can't we just increase my mailbox size? This costs time every day and I'm just frightened to delete something important. You have all heard of these discussions. If one thing leads to another, like oftentimes in IT administration, your storage gets full and you have to purchase a new storage first. Just another pain point on your to-do list. How I said before, you all know these problems better than I do, and I will now show you how to solve them, how to prevent and solve them. As I said in the agenda slide, there are tools which are handling these challenges. One of it is our tool for mail management and mail archiving called Retain. But how can Retain help here? Retain archives the whole data away from your Exchange database, which is relieved due to that. Then the impossible searches get possible and your users can work more efficient again. One problem on the last slide was storages. Compared to an Exchange Live mailbox, we save really up to 60% of storage. How does this work? We are using the single instant technology, which stores every email, every attachment, just once in our database. For example, you are sending an invitation to all of your users. Let's say you have like 250 users. You add an attachment for the next Christmas party, for example, which is 5 MB. What happens is in Exchange, you have a real copy of all this attachment and emails located in every single mailbox. Retain just stores this email once, and the attachment as well. It's just stored once, and this is how we save up to 60% instead of a live mailbox. We spoke about the discussions which you might have due to setting mailbox quotas to your users. Now imagine the user doesn't even have to take care of his mailbox size. He deletes whatever he wants without losing any content. Everything is stored in the archive and can be deleted or edited or moved. The next section in our webinar is handling of PSD files. PSD files are an issue in almost every Exchange infrastructure. Imagine you have like 1,500 workstations. During years and your growing Exchange, there was several PSD files located on every workstation. So you have decentralized PSD files on every workstation. Now you have a big problem because these files are containing invoices, offerings, and other content which you don't want to lose. It's a part of the knowledge created in your own company which you can't access if it's in a PSD file. But which other problems are you facing with PSD files? What are difficulties related to those files? Let's have a look. There are many companies which are archiving and saving their content to PSD files, and they speak of compliance regarding this case of archiving. And please be sure that this definitely not compliant to any retention laws. This is not compliant to any of your retention laws. Due to their size, PSD files are often corrupt and unfixable. You really can't use them then in any way. This leads to data leakage of the data and knowledge created in your company again. There's no option except import the whole file into an Outlook client to search across the PSD's content. In almost every case we see the PSD files are located all across the infrastructure, like our example before. Decentralized on every workstation, and due to all of these points, it definitely leads to compliance violations. But how can Retain support you in handling PSD files? Retain has its own PSD migration tool for all those decentralized PSD files. To put it crudely, you just take all of this PSD stuff, save it to the user archive to be able to have access to the lost data again. The user's able to search across all the data again. So you can speak about compliance again and provide many, many functions to work with this content to your users and administrators. Every user can now access the lost content through his usual Outlook client, and there's one other option we give them. There's a web interface we are providing. But let's have a look at what can happen in email management and managing your Exchange server. All those topics are about email management, so PSD files is email management too, but in this part of our webinar, we will take more about the knowledge which is produced in your own company. Just imagine what is sent via email. These are invoices, offerings, all fiscal data, but either knowledge of your company. And you pay your employees to create this knowledge to work most efficient and on a long-term basis. So what problems do you face? The new functions and the web-based interface of Exchange 2013 allows you to do a lot in email management. On this slide, I will show you which functions are hard or not to manage. Many of our customers didn't search for their mails anymore because there was no way to find content in their Outlook client without any help. And at the end of the day, you know what the help is? It's the IT department. Just imagine you miss an email. In many environments, there's only one way to get this mail back. You will visit the administrator and he has to search in a backup to restore the single email for you. So in the worst case, he has to even restore a part of your mailbox from this backup. And to speak about compliance again, in most cases it's really not possible to reach a compliance with the functions within Microsoft Exchange. Compliance means your internal policies meet all legal regulations, especially if you have to provide an audit function or want to restore content, the functions within Exchange are not leading you to any compliance. So again, if you use Retain as an email management tool, you provide a lot of functions to your company to work most efficient and long-term with the data produced in your company. For example, Retain allows the user to use a e-discovery. Like 2 slides ago, we had this case with a 3 GB mailbox, and you search for an item. You type in a keyword and have to scroll yourself across all the search results. Retain gives you the possibility now to filter beforehand, as for instance, a filter for the subject and recipient. This just cuts down the results and you are able to find content again, and the user is either. These functions can be used, how I said before, in the Outlook client directly, and the second way to access in the web interface of Retain. In both interfaces, you can also use the single restore. This function allows you to provide your users a push-button restoration of their items, of their content. Within Outlook, you can even use drag and drop to restore an item. And believe me one thing, you really can't imagine how much the small function relieves IT departments and how happy their admins can be again. Due to our export and audit functions in Retain, Retain is a great tool for email management and supports you in getting compliant with all laws and regulations. So, the problems you might have faced before: upgrades and migrations. Let's have a look at upgrades and migrations as a switch from any platform to Office 365 or Exchange on-premise. For you, as a person responsible for IT, these topics are always hard to handle. But why are these topics hard to handle? Why are such issues always a pain point? It is quite plain. Because without the right tools and the right preparation, a lot of things in these processes can go wrong. In these topics, there's always a fear of data leakage, of losing the data which you produce, which is content of your company. How long is the downtime? How big will the database of the new system be? Even in case of an update, these questions are asked. Every administrator wants his users to work during a process like this, and the fastest way possible. Your employees should not even be affected in any migration or upgrade process. So in which way can we prevent those issues with Retain? I will show you. Retain supports you in every kind of migrations by archiving every mailbox content first. That means a huge part of this content can be deleted out of your live system. That just shortens every migration and upgrade process. So in plain English, you just take all the mail stuff, set up your new system, and just push a small part back in the mailboxes. The big benefit in using Retain for migrations and app updates as well, for one thing, is that you prevent data leakage, and for another thing, you can access all the data even while the migration and update is running. So your users won't be affected in their work. Yeah, we spoke about all the issues which are affecting your Exchange server, like at the beginning of this webinar, overloaded servers, PSD files, email management, and upgrades and migration at the last point. And the lesson is clear. Archiving is really worth its implementation and is essential to every company, especially with the right tool for it like Retain is. The whole compliance and legal regulations issue on the left side is just done by Retain. You don't have to deal with it anymore. But even from an economic or either technical point of view, Retain gives you a lot of useful functions. Retain archives, for example, all the content of the user's mailbox, which are appointments, task lists, notes, and emails. Everything is just stored once, and due to this deduplication, we are relieving your storage again. Remember the single instance storage. Everything is just stored once, and we are using this deduplication to really save up to 60% instead of a live mailbox. And every archive content can be accessed by the user through the usual Outlook interface. That means no more searches which are too hard and wasting time. No more users contacting the admin, for example, because of a lost contact. For the user, it's way more easier to do those things on its own. The content can be restored, forwarded, or exported by the user himself. And all these functions help you, as a person responsible for IT, solving the issues in your Exchange environment. Let's have a look at the customers which are already using Retain as their email management tool and at what they have achieved with the installation and implementation of Retain. So, one of our customers is the company Kühner Wärmetauscher. The administrator came up with a classical issue, which was compliance. So management just told him that they have to archive their Exchange due to legal regulations, and they began the installation of Retain. Afterwards, by and by, they found out that the Exchange database was reduced by 50% because they deleted everything except the last 3 months on the live system. So Exchange database really reduced by 50% just by, you don't have to have everything on the live system. So it's just kept away, and that's why you save all this data. For Gudrun Schön, a fashion label with branch offices in Germany, it was the fast search as their top benefit. The admin told us before that his users doesn't even search for emails anymore because they won't find them without help anyway. And Retain enabled all users again to search for their emails and other content just in their usual Outlook interface. And what was interesting as well was that the installation of Retain was completely done in 4 hours. So if you were ever thinking about the huge amount of time for the installation of an archiving solution, just don't longer hesitate to start. Put it on your to-do list. The Ritz-Carlton in London is a great project. Next to the classic issue again, which was compliance, Retain was used to support the group-wise to Exchange migration. That means that we archived everything into Retain first, installed the new Exchange, and start with a clean system. In this case, we pushed, I think, the last 30 days back into the system, and the users could work again on a fresh system. These customers already did, but why should you decide to use Retain as your email management tool to solve your Exchange issues? First point is compliance and regulation laws. The only thing I want to add here is that this is all proved by a German lawyer in IT, and we have a certificate for Retain. Due to our audit function and everything is stored in the archive, you have proof in your emails in any case of litigation. Today it was a lot of the knowledge which is produced in your own company. You just secure this knowledge with Retain because everything is in the archive and can't be deleted, moved, or edited. The possibility to provide a push-button restoration, a single restore really for your users, relieves every IT department. You as an administrator don't have to search for users' mails or restore a user's mailbox for getting the content back. It's just done by the user himself. So let us work on your Exchange issues together. I would be happy to help you in email management. What I want to provide you at the end of this webinar is a test installation of Retain in your environment. Then you will see what benefit this tool brings to your infrastructure. And furthermore, we can arrange an appointment for a live demo to see our product live and get all your questions answered about compliance, PSD file, email management in general, and migrations and upgrades as well. At the end of this webinar today, I will show you one last slide about our Guava Con. Our Guava Con is all about messaging and collaboration use, where you can meet Microsoft, Novell, and many, many resellers and customers. For detailed information, just look on guavacon.eu or leave your questions in the chat as well. I will now answer every question which was asked during the webinar. I will take care of all your questions. And I want to say many thanks for your attendance, many thanks for your attention, and hopefully we will all meet at Guava Con. I wish you a great day and a great rest of the week. Thank you.